Example number 4, making a decision based on odds and probability. A hockey game has ended in a tie after a 5-minute overtime period, so the winner will be decided by a shootout. The coach must decide whether Ellen or Brittany should go first in the shootout. The coach would prefer to use her best scorer first, so she will base her decision on the players' shootout records. So, Ellen, out of 13 attempts on goal, she scored 8. And Brittany, out of 17 attempts on goal, she scored 10. So this one for me is easiest when we consider the probability of scoring a goal. You can use odds, but what I like so much about using probability is it forces us to have the same denominator so we can actually compare. So when we're dealing with probability, we're always talking about a percent. Okay, so we're talking about something that's out of 100. It just makes it so that we can compare. So you'll see what I mean in just a second. So for Ellen, it means that her probability of scoring a goal is going to be 8 out of 13 because she scored 8 goals and she made 13 attempts. So when I convert that into a decimal, 8 over 13, the actual 8 over 13 doesn't help us all that much, but when we convert it to a decimal, we have 0.615. Okay, on a provincial exam, we could leave it as 0.615, or we could use more of a decimal. We can say 0.61538, which converts into 61.538%. So remember, you can't just convert this into 61.5%. If the decimal keeps on going, you need to make sure that your final answer has 3 decimal places. Okay, so and just to make it official, I'm just going to change this a little bit. So the probability of Ellen scoring equals 8 over 3. So what would the probability of Brittany score? Well, 10 goals have been scored out of 17 attempts on goal. So as a decimal, that is 0.588, or we can use the decimal 0.58824. That results in a final answer. I'm just going to block off the final answers of 58.824%. My suggestion is always leaving it as this decimal because funny things can happen, like we can read numbers off of our calculator a little bit wrong, or we can say that maybe it's 6% instead of 61%. My suggestion is always just keeping it in the decimal form because we can still compare. So even though Brittany scored 10 goals, when you consider the ratio, which is more than Ellen, when you consider their goals scored to attempts, Ellen actually scores more of the time than Brittany. So if I were that coach looking at those numbers, I would say I would put Ellen first because she is more likely to score a goal. What I could have done is I could have set up the odds in favor or odds against. So this one, if we were to say the odds in favor, it would be 8 to 5. So this would mean that this is how many goals she scored. This is how many attempts she missed. 8 plus 5 is your full 13 attempts. However, I feel like looking at the probability for this specific example, it's more helpful to look at the probability than the odds, because we can actually look and compare.